Hey y'all, it is November the 15th. I think it is the 15th, 2019, and we're just chilling here for a little bit. Just getting settled in, seeing if we can't, um, just have a breather and see if technology will suit us. I noticed that there's somebody already up in the viewing area. Shout out to you, and I appreciate you. All right. I don't know who it is or man, how could you know so quick? That's what I wonder. And I truly do wonder, how could you know so quick? All right. But if you get a chance, I guess let me know if you experience any buffering. All right. Because I'm not seeing any warnings of that. Uh, I'm not getting any messages, alert messages. I realize that on Friday night it might be a lot of people streaming, all right? And perhaps that'll bog down the signal, or a lot of people are doing whatever, watching movies on their Netflix or something like that. That's what I um, that's what I suspect. I don't know. We seem to have a good signal right now, all right? So therefore, we don't have too much reason to wait. First of all, I want to address that this video, this stream, shout out to we got two people up in the building. I appreciate you. All right, this stream is called The Final Broadcast. It's kind of a funny name. I thought I would title it The Final Broadcast. It's not really the final broadcast. There will be more in the future, Lord willing. But I was playing around with the name of it. If you were with us last time, or if you saw the recording or whatever, listen to the last podcast, you'll know that we were trying to come up with a name, an official name for the broadcast. We still haven't settled on one. I gotta imagine it'll come to us, all right, organically, all right, through teamwork, probably. So if you do have suggestions, go ahead and shout me out in the comments and I'll see it and we'll consider it. And it probably will be the name of this broadcast, all right? So really think about it. Make sure that you enjoy it, I suppose. I don't know. But it might not even be important. Speaking of that, what's not very important. Hold on. I didn't even realize. I didn't even realize y'all can't see me, all right? And I know that's probably a problem. For some people, they definitely want to see me to make sure that it is me, all right? That they're getting that real news. I'm not sure if the camera itself, like if I move around, I'm not sure if the camera itself might bog down my capacity as far as my technology, and maybe that makes me start buffering and stuff like that. Maybe that isn't the case. Unwrapped by Brenda says, "Good, you're on." Well, it sounds like I'm on, all right? It sounds like there's not so much buffering, and you got my face to make sure it's me. All right, we're thinking about a name for the broadcast, something very profound, something very original. Maybe, I don't know, just my name like Gerard, or this is his broadcast, or something like you need to know about this broadcast, or something catchy, or perhaps more short than that. All right, and y'all let me know. This Friday, it's a free for all. So we're definitely open to ideas. We're definitely all right. And I tend to get a feel for what's happened since I went to sleep. Oh no. Oh no. As I recall in the last recording where the poor network status was showing up, all right, it did a lot, and that just wasn't, it wasn't a good look for us, all right. I don't know if we stuff like that. But history leads me to believe. Let me see if I could take off my face. Because y'all already know it's me. Started buffering. When you turned on the cam, oh man. I had that suspicion that it did. I'm gonna turn off the cam real quick, see if that might help us See if that gets our network status on wealthy, um, and makes our connection very strong. Right? I don't know. It's still popping up, this little message. I don't know if you can see it down there. I think you can, because I've seen the recordings in which I see the message pop up down there at the bottom. It says, the network status is all poor. It's going real good. All right. There's 3 people up in the building, and I appreciate all y'all. I don't mean to waste y'all's time like this. All right. And see if we can get a good network status. All right. Make sure. What if I take out the comments? All sort of stuff. There's 4 comments. Buffer, buffer, buffer. That's what Shaky88 says. And I really appreciate Shaky88. And the thing is, he's probably not lying. He's probably not lying at all when he says buffering, constant buffering, right? Now we've been sitting here for a while, commiserating and stuff, and just taking a little time out to see if we can't get the status on good. Now I would assume, and I could be wrong, that when the message stops popping and blinking all at the bottom of the screen, well, that means our signal is good now, right? Straighten out. Shaky88 says, and it's kind of ironic because his name is Shaky88. And I really appreciate that. He says straighten out. I would love to do that. I would love to straighten this all out. But of course, we're probably talking to the internet. Jacob Longer said it stopped. All right, so we've gotten through the rough part. You guys, I'm sure people would love to see me. Probably not all y'all. Probably some of y'all don't care. But you might be listening, or you might just even want to be looking at this article and reading it. That's the first article that we're going to look at real quick. I was already on it. The thing is, right before the broadcast, I went on and I checked about it. And I found this article, and it's concerning a running case that we've been talking about. All right, a case that you might not even never heard of unless I brought it up. I wouldn't be surprised. All right. Oh man, we got these little, hold on, technical difficulties. Got this little bug running around. I don't appreciate that, but okay. I didn't want to get off this website because I know y'all experienced it around the internet, but a lot of these websites out here and a lot of these news publications, so-called professional, legitimate news publications, they be putting their articles and stuff behind paywalls, and sometimes they're timed out, and sometimes you go back to an article you already seen, and they say, oh, no, too bad, you got to give us money for it, and stuff like that. I want to remind everybody, or just suggest to everybody out there, that if ever this happens, that publication is illegitimate, all right? Completely illegitimate. As far as the news, like, you should be able to give the news. You might have like exclusive content and stuff that you're going to be banned for and behind a paywall, all right? Like, say, for example, freespeech.tv, you got to pay for that. If you're going on Vimeo and you subscribe to some of these channels, you got to pay for that. All right, there's certain channels you go on different various platforms and you got to pay for it. It's exclusive. Why? Because it would be banned otherwise. It would be banned off the internet, right? But you got these news publications out here and, they put their stuff behind paywalls even though they're not going to get banned off the internet. It's not even a chance, all right? Shaky88 says that we're good, and I appreciate that, Shaky88. He's a legend, by the way. And for everybody who doesn't know it, is checking out this recording, or who's in the comments, who's up in the building right now. Shaky88 has a pretty legendary channel, all right? A lot of content accumulated, over his YouTube career and stuff. It's pretty awesome. I'll go check it out, but other than that, we got straight up and down legends unwrapped by Brenda. She's a pretty good co-host. All right, in fact, maybe one of my favorite. All right, gets pretty profound, blows my mind sometimes. All right, and then of course Jacob Longer, who amongst other things, if I am not mistaken, he's the one who pointed out that for those who know Meadow Pollock, Alexa Midnick, actually best buddies forever. And that was something that I didn't know. All sort of different, it's just legends up in the game that we got right here. Seems like we're ready to go. All right, so we're gonna dive in. We got about until 9:45. I figure that's what time I want to get off. Right, Central Standard Time is 8:53 right now, just so that y'all know. So that gives us the bulk of an hour to put our heads together and figure out what the heck's going on around here. Some newspaper charge to view old newspapers online. It sucks. It way sucks. All right. If you're a newspaper, you should feel ashamed of yourself, but you don't even feel no shame because you got all sort of overhead. Right. You're building. Your business model is it's way outdated. Like it sucks. All right. Y'all didn't innovate on nothing. Your overhead is way over the top, and so you have to wind up firing all sort of reporters. Don't think I don't hear about it. And then later on, you're putting in like these little paywalls and just nickel and diming everybody for information. It's like, dude, we're out here to get information. We're not out here to get nickel and dimed for every little article that you want to write, even though you're not going to get banned. It's not like you're out here about to get banned or anything. We got Maitre Markup in the building. All right. I mean, jam packed full of legends, right? I don't know what y'all are doing or what y'all could be doing that might be more important than this. I imagine it could be a lot of things. But for whatever reason, you're putting it on hold and you're out here, and I appreciate you. And actually, we're making history right now. All right. I don't think we understand or realize how deep that this goes and how expansive that it's going to prove to be. What we're uncovering right now. All right. What we're discovering again and again. All right. Over and over throughout time. And of course, any one of y'all, if y'all got something that you know that you got to cover right now, for example, Maitre Mark, not too long ago, he brought up the whole idea of emergency alert systems like 911, or I don't know, I think it's 000 or like 999 over there in Tasmania and Australia and stuff like that. But that they're very poorly equipped. All right, he's making note of that. That's something that I made note of a long, long time ago, and some people have just through experience. But until you actually experience and see and dive into that world, it's hard for a lot of people to imagine just how bare bones it is. It's like, dude, struggling all the time. And it's not to give excuse for people who do a poor job when it comes to emergency alerts. It's just to be aware that that is the case. Most often that is the case, especially if you're in a big city or something. Even if you're out in rural nowhere and stuff like that, it's going to be hard for the police to get out to you in an emergency, in a life-threatening situation. All right, so some people were thinking about that, and some people thought about that a long time ago, and they got guns. All right, everywhere around the world they got guns, and especially here in America, and especially here in Texas. All right, especially. All right, they already got them just for that particular instance, right? And it is an instance that's very bad, right? Say an anti-gun person probably would say, you need to trust the authorities to get to you and save your life. You need to hide up under a blanket and just hope that nobody really comes peeking around and stuff, and that they rob you blind and perhaps don't rape you and perhaps don't take your life and stuff like that. It's really a gruesome situation. That's some real talk right there. All right, news really does happen. It does get wild. Sometimes things seem like, oh, it could be a hoax, and people could be lying to us 100% about this. Everybody's actors. Maybe sometimes it does happen. I'll give you that. It probably does happen sometimes, but for the most part, I gotta suggest that that's not the case. That real stuff does go on. This particular instance, we're gonna cover it first because just in case there's a paywall that's around the corner, I wanted to get off of this article. But you see it right here: police report miscommunication strained racial confrontation at Buffalo Wild Wings in Naperville, Illinois, which, from what I understand, is outside of Chicago. All right. And we discussed it. I mean, just to bring people up to speed in case you didn't see us the last time when we discussed it. It was a situation in which, just to summarize it, a group of 18 people, all right, described as mixed race or whatever, but predominantly African American. That's not going to be hard to come by around that area of the country, right? We got General Shefford up in the building. He's throwing out phone numbers, and I'm not sure why, but we're going to get to that in a second. Anyways, supposedly a big group of people come into a Buffalo Wild Wings and they're wanting to have a little party. This is a birthday party and stuff. It's a birthday that's happening in the group. All right. And then two white people, a couple, a man and a lady, they said some racial things, I guess, under their breath or whatever. And they talked to the managers or they talked to the employees and they said, "Oh, could you get these guys to move because I think they're black and I just can't have it. This is going to totally ruin our evening, right?" And so then the hosts, and this is all the official narrative. This is all officially what was in publications. That's what they swore by. They said, okay, the hosts and stuff, they went up to the group of people and said, "Hey, what race are y'all guys?" Literally, that was the official narrative. They said, "Hey, what race are y'all guys?" And when they said, "Hey, we're black," they were like, "Oh man, we can't have this. We need to move you over to a different section because the people over there, they're racist and, they're our regulars. They spend big money up in here. And so we just really can't have y'all. We need to move y'all over into the lobby or something." Like, I'm not sure what's the layout. And I'd be very interested in knowing the layout of that particular Buffalo Wild Wings. But of course, they don't want to give us these sort of details. They want to spoon feed us all sort of racial discrimination, obviously. All right, Shake 88. Oh man, we'll catch you later, man. We definitely appreciate you and your input. I mean, honestly, you helped out the broadcast a lot. It helps for me to know that we actually have a signal going. So I appreciate you. I'll holler at you later. And I appreciate your work, especially. Like I said, check out Shaky88. His channel is pretty off the hook, and he's also pretty well connected, man. I got respect for that guy out there, Shaky88. Anyways, police report. Like I said, anyways, that was the situation. And then the black group of people, 18 people strong. I mean, I'm talking about big money. They're about to spend big money up in there. They were like, "Oh man, you're discriminating on us and we feel terrorized by this." And one person got on the phone and was talking to his mom and was crying. And this is the official story. It's not me saying it. He got on the phone crying. He was like, "Oh, they're hating on us because we're black and stuff. We don't know what to do and stuff. We can't have this. It's somebody's birthday and they're ruining our evening." Right? And so it becomes a situation where there's press conferences involved now and all sort of like tomfoolery. You got this one attorney who's representing for them, and it's just like, oh man, it's so typical. And so I knew immediately, and I called it out immediately. Although I might not have all the proof that I did, but I did. I did. I called it out immediately. So it's completely fake, dude. It's all the way over the top fake. It's ridiculous. All right, this didn't happen. And I know so because I live in America and I don't live in Illinois. I do live here down here in Texas, and I gotta say, one of the most racially just peaceful and harmonious places that you'll ever go in the world is probably Texas. I would have to imagine it is, all right, for a bunch of different reasons, but including especially our history, our culture and stuff, man. It's just kind of like we'll talk about that later, but it's just to say I knew that it was fake and that it never happened, all right. That being said, let's go ahead and read this article. It's not too long. All right. Pretty much vouching. I said within 2 weeks, this is going to be thoroughly debunked. You're going to see that this is not real. This is a completely fake, made up situation. And they're just going to admit to it. And the thing is, they don't even mind admitting to it because they know nobody's paying attention. All they wanted to do was throw out headlines out there that says, "Oh, black people, oh, black people, black, 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 black," and just ultra victimized and stuff like that. And y'all need to be wary of each other. Y'all need to really have strained relationships. That's the whole point. And you already knew that's what's the point. I didn't have to tell you that, but just so that we can have our own giggles and stuff over it. Here it is in black and white, exactly what I said and that what you probably said and that we knew from day one. Here it is right in front of our face. The situation that unfolded October 26th involving a multiracial group of 18 diners at Buffalo Wild Wings in Naperville was a lot of miscommunication. Quote, a lot of miscommunication that blew up by word of mouth. One restaurant employee said in a handwritten statement included with a report a Naperville police released Wednesday evening. So it's not very breaking, but My internet was cut off for a day or so, so we're catching up. The police said they found no evidence, oh really, of any crimes. First of all, to be racist, in a sense, I guess depending on where you go, it's typically not even a crime. There is no crime against that, right? And I don't even believe racism exists. There might be a lot of people out there who think they're racist, and they're like, yeah, racism exists because I'm racist and I got hatred in my heart. It's like, well, that might be, but you just got hatred, and it's unfortunate. Now, I wish you wouldn't, but I can't tell you what to do. I don't think racism exists, but even still, I don't even think there's a crime against it. It'd be hard to. The thing is, there'd be a lot of nuance to it. You'll find out. It's going to be discussed later on in this article. There's actually a lot of nuance that goes into so-called racism and stuff. And yeah, it does happen all over the place in a nuanced sense, but that doesn't really exist. It's like it's one of those what do they call it? Societal constructs. I don't know, but it offered a nuanced view of the situation, which has led to calls for Buffalo Wild Wings to change its policies. All right, and we're going to talk about that to change its policies on diversity and sensitivity. All right, and even to the involvement of you got it. See, here's the thing about this article, and you're already noting it. You could have wrote this article. I could have wrote the article, right? Just out of our imaginations, and we knew exactly what to write, and we knew exactly what they were going to say. So we could have wrote the article. We could have gotten paid money for it, just like this person, this author, quote, author here got paid for. Who wrote this article, right? Was it a person? It was Murray Wilson. I bet you anything, Murray Wilson got paid money to write this, even though we could have wrote it. All right. And if we use just the most simplistic layer of our imagination, right? Of course, we would have put Jesse Jackson up in the mix, right? He's obviously the go-to. He's the legend. He is the GOAT. And when you consider, racial tension and just conjuring up all sort of racial hatred. You got Reverend Jesse Jackson up in the mix, who recently met with the families involved, believe it or not. Even though I'm sure most people aren't talking about this situation because most people in the nation probably never even heard of this. All right, it's all low key. Oh, okay, here's the point. And here's what the article is saying. Basically, there's going to be money that changes hands. Sure, yeah, definitely. I mean, you got a family here and there crying. They had a birthday, right? And we're about to dive into the comments because I see they're accumulating. But okay, so they had a birthday, blah blah blah, and they take it and I forget what we're talking about, but Reverend Jesse Jackson, he's up in the mix, and money's going to change hands. Please believe that. All right. And then, I mean, that might be minor. That might be behind the scenes. Money will change hands. But at the same time, there's a larger aspect to it, obviously. And to be more specific, it's just going to be this specific sensitivity training and diversity training that's going to happen. It's going to happen at all Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever. Then they might have a course of a couple hours in which they take a sensitivity. So here's the thing about it, and I heard about this a while back when it happened to a different company. And it's just going to happen to company after company after company. As soon as they apologize and just give into it, they're all going to have to take this sensitivity and diversity training. And what's weird to know is we're talking about big chains, right? We're definitely talking about nationwide things where it's just a whole bunch of locations. Each and every location, each and every employee to those locations is going to have to take that training. And it's kind of awkward to note that, like, with all the employees involved and all the locations involved, you're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars easily in order to do this sensitivity and diversity training, right? So, I mean, to a company like that, it's not so much money, but in the whole scheme of things, that is a bunch of money. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars having it. That's on top of the extortion, right? It's double extortion. All right, and it's all based around being politically correct. Okay, so meanwhile, this never happened. We don't have to read the rest of this article because, like I said, we could have wrote it. So that's going to happen. It's going to be double extortion. Buffalo Wild Wings is going to lay down flat because, they don't got no backbone or anything like that. Meanwhile, this situation never even happened. And it's okay. See, if we're going to be theorizing, right? I don't know that this happened at all. I don't know what happened over at Buffalo Wild Wings, right? But this would be my guess. All right. Two people are sitting there. They're regulars at a Buffalo Wild Wings, right? And the article, it definitely backs this up if you wanted to read it. I don't think we got time because, we just don't got all that kind of time. But so, okay, two people are sitting there, they're regulars. In comes a group of 18 people. There might be a layout in Buffalo Wild Wings to where they don't have to sit there. They could sit somewhere else. Maybe it's a big place, all right? Instead, they sit there right there by the couple and stuff. Maybe it makes them feel uncomfortable, not because they're black, and this would be my theory, not because they're black, but because they have so much children, and perhaps, and it's just a guess, that their children are unruly. And I'm really guessing that because I've seen it before. I've seen it a lot. I've seen it quite a bit where the children are unruly and just doing whatever they could think of all over the place. And so the couple might have been like, hey, man, why'd you have to stick these people right on top of us? And their children are all over the place. They're having a so called birthday party. And it's like, dude, I'm kind of uncomfortable. Could you maybe sit them over there? Maybe there's a larger area somewhere else where you could sit them. And it would just accommodate them more and accommodate us at the same time. All right. Meanwhile, they suggest that to the employees, which sounds completely reasonable. All right. Minus the whole race thing. Just because they're different races, now it's a big problem because they tell the employees and the employees, thereby they say something to the customers. Now, the article backs this up, but what happens is the employees say, oh, I think it's because these guys are racist. And that's how the situation started. That's the little spark that lit the kindling and just started a big old fire, which is what it took. What took place, right? There's a big old fire, but it all started from these employees who were like, because I think they're racist under their breath. Meanwhile, the employees just kind of had a problem. And the article backs this all up. It's like they kind of imagined some sort of racism coming off this couple because they were regulars. And after a while, they just assumed that they were racist people, probably because they were white. All right. So it built up. This manager got fired. Some employees got fired. All sort of extortion is going to take place. Meanwhile, the couple pretty much came out and said, we didn't ever say nothing racist that day. We don't know what you're talking about. This is completely made up and fake and false. And I wonder if they're going to get banned from all the Buffalo Wild Wings. And I bet you they're not. All right. Anyways, I just wanted to gloat over that. I mean, not really. It's not a happy thing to discuss necessarily. But it is just another case of us, by using our common sense, can tell the future, and we can call stuff out that, like, some people, they don't even understand how we can call it out so easy. It's because it is so easy. All right. And before we dive into some screenshots, let's check out the comments. And also, I want to apologize if you can't see my face and if you wonder if it's really me, but it is. The thing is, we wanted a strong signal. We were realizing that my face was messing up the signal. So before we go any further, I want to shout out to the people in the comments. Be sure to leave some comments because I'm going to read them out probably, unless they're vulgar and inappropriate. And I'll just giggle and I'll pass by it. But this comment says, hey, y'all call this number and demand Trump pardon Roger Stone. In fact, yeah, actually, I remember that. Usually you'd be wary of handing out phone numbers over the internet. But the thing is, that is the number to the White House, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That would be their personal number, and say, hey, Donald Trump pardon Roger Stone. I think actually, and that I'm pretty sure is on the docket. All right, we're going to have to squeeze that in for sure, because that's one of the major stories out right now. I had to admit, out of all the stories, that's one of the major ones is Roger Stone. He just got convicted 7 ways, literally from Sunday, over all sort of stuff where they're BSing, and they're going to throw him in jail for about as long as they can. And he's already an old man, so that's not good. And so, it seems imperative that Donald Trump is going to have to do something, not because, they're friends, just because that is what's right. Now, real briefly, I do want to discuss that Roger Stone, we've definitely had a critical eye of Roger Stone here on this channel, and we've wondered some things about Roger Stone. He seems like one of these factors that could go either way. But the thing is, if we're looking at it objectively, all right, whether or not we're suspicious of Roger Stone does not matter. He does have a very suspicious looking face, but you can't judge someone off of that. All right. If we're being very objective, what he's getting convicted for really ain't a crime. And even if it was by some stretch of the imagination, it shouldn't be a crime. All right. They pretty much railroaded him. And that is the problem. All right. And that goes for anybody. As far as, say, Roger Stone, who, yeah, I do think he should get pardoned. I think a lot of people are probably going to kick up dust about this. But it doesn't matter who. If it was Ed Buck, all right, if it was Nicholas Cruz, you know what I'm saying? It's like, do we need to have our due diligence and find out whether or not they're actually committing crimes, or it could be proved that they have committed these crimes and stuff. And if we don't have that, then we can't have all sort of kangaroo courts convicting people and throwing people in jail for however many years that they want to off of bogus charges, right? It's a sense of lawlessness. And that's what they're trying to instill, right? Anyways, just to get through the comments, Jacob Longer says, that one's crazy waiter to do that. It's not actually that crazy, I gotta say, because the reason that it's all pieced together just from reading that article and already knowing, is like, in my experience, it's really not that unreasonable. If we're really getting down to brass tacks for, say, a waiter to get off put by certain customers. In fact, waiters talk all sort of ways about customers behind the scenes, and everybody knows it, right? So they're going to get to know regular customers. And if for whatever reason a waiter is having a problem in his life, maybe a few problems, this is very characteristic of waiters, all right? You probably have problems in your life, right? And typically, it's human nature. You don't want to blame yourself, and you don't want to take personal responsibility for all your problems, right? So you're going to wind up putting your problems on someone else. You're going to blame someone else for all your problems and for why your day isn't going so good. And I know it. I mean, it happens constantly all over this country, right? And so this is what happened to this waiter. And he might have had problems with the management. He might have had problems with these regular customers. And low key, he thought they were racist. They might have said things that were in the past maybe like racially insensitive. See, so that's why they use that word. Meanwhile, it's just people joking around with each other. I was saying it, I said it before, and I'll say it a million times because I think people need to understand. Like in Texas, there's all sort of races. I grew up on a specific block of 30 houses, right? And it was every single race that you could think of was on that block, right? It's extremely diverse, right? And the whole thing is we would always joke about it, right? We would always make light of the situation. Like it would always be funny jokes that we would make to each other and stuff. Because, oh yeah, you look different. Oh, I look different. We all look different. And it was funny. We would make jokes about it, right? And so that's what happens out in public. People sometimes make jokes, and sometimes they're like insensitive and they don't realize that there's social cues and stuff like that. So the waiter, he gets it in his brain, oh, these people are racist. So when the situation comes up, the host or the waiter or whatever, they ask if they can move the group. He's like, oh, it must because they're black that they want them to move. It must because they're black and this is a racist situation. And I'm going to tell this group of people it's because they're black that they need to move. And then he does that. And then they hear that and they want to believe it so bad, even though they admit that none of their children have ever experienced racism in their life. And so they want to believe it so bad. And since instead of talking to the people who had the problem, instead of that, they just didn't talk to each other, right? And there was all sort of reasons to know that it was fake anyways, because, I mean, you can, for all sort of reasons. We don't have to get into all of them, but there would have been much more evidence if that really did go down that much, I can assure everybody. And let's just ring out these comments. Oh my God, did you even say the other day that they were going to have classes on how to act? I probably did say that. If I didn't say that, I think we all knew that. But that's what I wanted to point out. Just like I pointed out earlier. That is the formula, all right? It don't have to be a real situation. It could be totally fake, made up, and they're going to debunk it a week and a half later, right? Does not matter. Money's going to change hands, and there's going to be classes involved. And I forget, I believe, Starbucks probably did something like this. Um, I want to say there was a makeup company that did something like this. I remember, and it was a big chain, and so they all had to do it. And so they were discussing just how much that costs, easily hundreds of thousands of dollars, just for like a couple of hours of sensitivity training across your whole platform. All right, so mad extortion. Anyways, uh, that had been banned. A lot of stuff had been banned. Jacob Longer, that's true. A lot of stuff gets banned. All right. So, I just want to make sure. What time is it? 9:18. Looks like we got about, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes to rattle off the good stuff. All right. We've been messing around this whole time, and now it's down. It's time to get down to business. All right. So I have some screenshots. I thought we'd go over them. And I think one of them at least should involve Roger Stone. And mind you, before we go any further, just in case I forget, that Roger Stone thing is large and over the top. I mean, objectively speaking, no matter how suspect you think Roger Stone is, these aren't crimes that he committed. Basically, I mean, if I understand correctly, and he is getting railroaded, and it is extreme and in our face. And Roger Stone is uh, everybody. He represents everybody, right? In fact, all these criminals do. It's like, or everybody who's getting locked up represents all of us because we're about to get locked up, right? And it's just that serious. We already knew that, but we're just going to take a look at some more evidence. I want to look at this. Uh, it was by the New York Times. It says when incorrigible teen girls were jailed. And I thought immediately in my head to make America great again. Nah, but I'm just kidding. Like I never knew that this existed, right? And I wouldn't vouch for this either necessarily. I don't know what they're getting at, and I didn't know that this existed, all right? But the New York Times wrote about it, so it must be true. All right, they're talking about a time period, and it looks like, I don't know, what's that, the 40s, 50s? Time period in which incorrigible teen girls were put in jail for being incorrigible, all right? And we're going to see throughout a lot of the stories that we cover, when we get to the root of the heart of the matter, we're going to find an incorrigible either teen girl or some lady who's just went off the rails and stuff. And it's not that we're bashing on ladies. We're just saying that, especially teen girls might go off the rails and stuff. They might start doing things that are definitely not even beneficial for them in the long run, right? And so, that's kind of gone wild. And we see it every day if we look around. The disastrous effects of incorrigible teen girls running amok, right? And then now, it's not to put the spotlight on teen girls, but ladies in general, perhaps getting all sort of tattoos, just running amok, just going all willy nilly. And the thing is, you're saying, well, women deserve to be independent. And I'd agree with that. I would say, yeah, they do, right? But at the same time, left to their own devices, they tend to do things that's just not even good for them, right? I don't know if, like, we should put them in jail necessarily, but dang, something should be done, right? I don't know what should be done. Santikos, this is kind of dumb. This is local news, but I wanted to discuss this just real briefly. Santikos announces new theater on far northwest side of San Antonio. I don't even think that's correct and stuff. They were talking about that it's on I-10 and Bernie Stage Road, and I understand where that's at. And, I guess, there's not a movie theater that's too close to that location, so I guess it makes sense. There's people with all sort of money over there in that particular area. And so, yeah, they might want to go to the movies and stuff, but I just wanted to point that out because San Antonio is growing like a behemoth, all right? It's like unbelievable. It just keeps growing and growing, and we seem to, for whatever reason, keep getting money, especially in certain areas. And they're throwing up like movie theaters. They already just threw up one just like a couple years ago, all right? A super deluxe one, and they got like, already we have so many theaters that are super deluxe. And meanwhile, I still don't appreciate, and I know that most people don't appreciate the format of these movie theaters. It doesn't make sense. We've discussed it for decades. And then, oh yeah, the snacks cost $1 million gazillion dollars, and it's like, what the heck? It's like, why is it so expensive? And this and that, and I got to do this and that, and I just don't even like this situation. It's like, who would like this situation? business-wise speaking, it's like we're getting a shaft every time, all right? If the movie theaters had any sort of sense, they would, change up their business model and start doing it in a way, and I'm sure that there'd be plenty of ways to make money and also provide a decent service in which they don't do right now. Even in these deluxe movie theaters, you still got to pay a million gazillion dollars for snacks. That doesn't even make sense. There's different other ways you can get people's money besides charging a million gazillion dollars for snacks. And just to let you know, back when I did go to movies, of course I'd be sneaking up tacos in my pockets. Dude, I'd have pockets full of tacos. Alright? Over in San Antonio, you can do it with the greatest of ease. And of course, I would go up there and eat like 2 or 3 tacos up in the movie theater, right? Because I spend way less money on that. Y'all ridiculous. And that's another reason why I don't even go to movies. And they're complaining right now because they're losing all sort of money because of streaming and stuff, on online internet viewing and stuff like that. They're losing all sort of money. Well, it's too bad. Y'all don't offer a good service. I just wanted to point that out. Anyways, I don't want to spend too much time on that. That's just kind of local news. I wanted to point out this real quick while we got some time. And we check the comments up in a section. Up in a section. Up in a second. I'm gonna check them out. Just to make sure that y'all don't feel like you're being neglected. But I did want to point out Kanye West. He's got a Sunday service. And, I've talked about it. That album was off the hook. It was complete total fire. To be quite honest, and I've seen a couple of the services on the internet. I've seen the recordings. Some are better than others. The Los Angeles one was amazing. All right, if you get time, check that out. But apparently, he's going to be hooking up with Joel Osteen. And right, that's another figure. It's kind of similar to Kanye West, in that there's plenty of Christians. In fact, I don't know what I would say. If it's half of Christians in the world, probably would look at Joel Osteen all sideways and be like, what is wrong with this guy? It's just another mega church, this and that, lying, cheating, scheming, plotting behind the scenes and stuff. I bet you he's doing this and that. Of course, that's what you think. On the scheme of things, like, and the whole appearance, if we were to go by appearances, yeah, Joel Osteen looks like that. Yeah, it looks like he's all about this, prosperity gospel and stuff like that. Yeah, it seems kind of shallow and, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people who do like it, and so it's always been controversial. And so now him and Kanye are gonna hook up and do this thing where apparently they already got 45,000 people is about to come into attendance. So that's the thing. What we got to realize, it's not about what we like or dislike necessarily. That's not even what's the question, right? The question is popularity, right? When they're talking about popularity, when they're talking about numbers, when you heard about these fake polls, and they've been giving us fake polls since who knows how long, right? We're actually looking at real numbers, like them or hate them or whatever else. 45,000 is a lot of people. That is popular. That is popularity. That's extreme popularity, all right? For better, for worse, whatever you might think of that. And Donald Trump is extremely popular. And if you were to compare him to any of the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders excluded, although Bernie Sanders does not pull in Donald Trump numbers at all. But anyone else in the Democratic Party, obviously, they don't bring in any numbers, right? And that's obvious. That's in your face. That's reality, all right? It doesn't matter who you like and don't like. And what's interesting to note is I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know to trust a Joel Osteen. I don't know to trust human beings necessarily, except to have a human nature. And I've seen that. I'm not saying to trust Kanye or Joel Osteen, but it's kind of interesting to see this. I don't think in that whole crowd that they're going to convert anybody to being whatever, born again or Christian, whatever you might call it. They're not going to convince anybody, all right? That's not what that scene is for. But if you're talking about Jesus, that's good. And I want to suggest that, man, like, it really doesn't matter who's talking about Jesus. I mean, in the end, people have to come to justice for whatever they've done. If they've done something bad, especially the children, they need to come to justice. I'm talking about quick, fast. But at the same time, even if Hillary Clinton, that's a perfect example, even if she were to lift the name of Jesus up on high, she's not lying. She wouldn't be lying. That's not a lie. I don't care who's telling it. All right, it's not really a lie. I'm going to check this out. U.S. restaurants remove dining rooms to speed off a site food frenzy. It's kind of an example. I'm not going to say whether I like it or don't, or whether I'll use it or not, but it's an example of jobs drying up, basically. What happens is this business model requires less employees and turns out more food and more profit. All right, that's exactly what it does. And it creates for not a dining experience. People aren't dining in. They're just, instead of having tables and stuff like that, they're creating more places to make food, to churn it out to the masses. You're getting mass made food. Obviously, you already knew it, but just more with less employees because they're not paying their employees. There's going to be less jobs. All right, uh, that's how that works, and that's what we're seeing, and that's what's happening. All right, and so that's an example of something to keep our eyes out for. Let's check out the comments right quick. Jacob Longer says Cruz was in court the other day. Oh yeah, and I saw that. I saw a picture of Cruz in court, and he had long hair and stuff. I was digging his style. All right. He was in court, and the judge asked him how old he was. He said 19, 21. That's true, and I saw that as well. That's why I said it's true, because I did see that news clip. In which they said it's 19, it's 21. Yeah, I mean, let's see what you say about that. Then they said Cruz didn't have to appear in court because it was stressful on him. Yes, indeed, Jacob Longer. That is something to focus on right now and dwell upon it real quick. We might even have to Google it. I don't know how much time we have left. Not too much, all right? But I saw that as well. I don't know if we could pull out that clip necessarily so fast. We got about 15 minutes to go. It's crunch time. We got to bang it out, but that's important to talk about and stuff because there'd be a lot of theories just come up off of that. And of course, this is a case rife full of theories, and people hear things and people see like sound clips and they try to figure, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean exactly? I know that some people out there would immediately jump to, oh, 19. He says 19. Now he says 21. Oh, he doesn't know what age he is. Oh, this and that. He's an actor. Right? He's acting and stuff like that. He forgot his line. He messed up. That's not really his age because he's an actor and he's playing and everybody's playing and he's not really in jail and stuff like that. And I don't know how far the theory goes, but I know some people would jump to that conclusion. I tend to go more simplistic. Like my brain works so simplistic. It's very simple. I'm simple brained, to be very honest. And so my simplistic theory would be that he's kind of doped up. They got him all doped up. They don't want him saying nothing. They give him all sort of bad advice behind the scenes to make sure that he doesn't say anything. And they're like drugging him up a little bit whenever they can. And they're pretty much threatening his life and stuff. And they got him over a barrel. And they're like, you need to take these drugs. You need to shut up, maybe. You need to shut up your mouth before we death penalty you and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's really that simple. And to the point is where they ask him how old he is, and he's got this so on his mind. They're talking about this specific instance when he was 19. So he's so deep in the zone and kind of doped up a little bit so that when they ask him how old he is, he thinks of this event and he says 19. Because like he's back, it's like he's living this event just throughout eternity at this point. And so and then he realizes, oh, I'm doped up. I'm actually 21 at this point because some years have gone by, about 20 months approximately. We might check that out. Let's just run through the screenshots real quick. We're not gonna spend much time on them. We just want to run through them. Maybe check out some of that Nicholas Cruz before we get on out of here. Jacob Longer says, when I forget my age, it's by 1 year. 2 is a bit of a time difference, that's for sure. But if you're doped up and you've been doped up for an extended period of time, perhaps 2 years is not that long, all right? Matrix Mark says, maybe the last 2 years are drugged up blur. Yeah, I would probably bet on that. I would probably bet on it. Whether or not even they could have put it in his food, there's all sort of ways could drug this dude up. All right. How wildly teens outwit bathroom vape detectors. Let me tell you something. A lot of these teens are addicted to vapes. A lot of these teens are new generation, right? They act wild and bad, and they ain't giving a dang, right? But some of them do. Some of them just smoke vapes. They're addicted to them, right? They're finding different ways to outwit stuff, and they're gonna do it every time, dude. They've been doing that. You think they're gonna lock the bathrooms and help them out? No, it's not gonna help. Uh, of course, we got Unwrapped by Brenda up in the dang building, right? And we got some conversation of brewing. All right, we got some solutions that happening before we get up out of here. We got Elizabeth Warren. It's so amazing. The reason I wanted to show this is because it's not like it's newsworthy, but Elizabeth Warren vows to expand health coverage in her first 100 days. That's never going to happen. Not in a million years, all right? Over the American country's dead bodies, I guess. But it's not never going to happen, obviously. We already know that. We're kidding ourselves to think that it wouldn't be a total disastrous nightmare, dystopia of epic anarchy proportions if they would have ever put Elizabeth Warren in president, right? So, but here's the thing. What I want to point out specifically is look at this picture that we're looking at right now. All right. Anybody's grandma or anybody's mom or anybody's crazy second cousin or something out there. We all know people who's like Elizabeth Warren, who, God bless them, they don't have any power over anything at all. We know women out there is like that, and they act just like Elizabeth Warren. They don't have the women we know either have no power over anything or very limited power over just their little world of things, right? And if you were to give them actual power, they would run amok with it. They would literally go in demon seizure mode immediately. If you were to ever do that, that's what they would love to do. They're just waiting for you to give them any sort of power. All right. So that is exactly, it doesn't matter. Like Elizabeth Warren, she could be as plain as, mini wheats without the frosting. Like, it really doesn't matter, right? But she's that stereotypical thing that if she were to get power, and God bless her, she ain't never gonna see that kind of power. She would run amok with it. And we all know women who's just like that. All right, Matriarch Mark says here in Tasmania, all prisoners are forcibly given sedation drugs. Isn't it so weird and creepy? All right, just to focus on that for a brief moment. All what did it say in Tasmania? All prisoners are given sedation drugs. Well, I would venture to say at least half of the prisoners in America probably get sedation drugs, and all sort of other different drugs. And in fact, they get all sort of stuff smuggled inside of the jails anyways. And everybody knows that to include Popeye's chicken sandwiches. No, I'm not kidding. They will get that smuggled into jail. All right. And they're giving sedation drugs and stuff like that. And it's just a weird, creepy place. If you were to really, and I've done it before, and, sometimes I do it. But if you were to ponder how weird and creepy and all the possibilities that can go on in a prison these days, it's just, I don't know, man. It'll take you down a dark path, you know what I'm saying? That'll be a rabbit hole that, you don't want to stay too long in. All right, but just the most wild of things happen up in these jails. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. Anyways, Chick-fil-A, a food truck triggers Oregon students, and that sparks walkout. Not only a few years ago, anywhere you go, anywhere in the world, if people saw a Chick-fil-A truck pull up, they started to giggle and dance about in glee, all right? Because chicken sandwiches for everybody. Now some children in some places going to university start crying and they run home. I don't know if that might be all the screenshots. That might be for the best. All right. That's all the screenshots for right now. But yeah, we wanted to talk about that Nicholas Cruz, maybe just a little bit, and perhaps Roger Stone. In fact, pretty much, what I gotta say is they're basically in the same boat. All right. Nicholas Cruz. Let's see what happens if we type Nicholas Cruz and we put in for the news and see what Google has to tell us. All right, I'm sure it's going to be very insightful and imperative, whatever it is that they have to tell us. All right, but he was in court recently, and he did have that long hair. You know what I'm saying? They probably got videos on it. See, Broward judge MSD confessed shooter. See, they're working in tandem. And if the question was whether or not they know they're covering up for an extreme scandal of epic proportions, of nation-shattering proportions, Whether or not they know they're covering it doesn't really matter. It's a spirit of evil, right? So they might know it, and some of them might have no idea what they're doing, but they'll word it in certain ways just to convince everybody. Oh yeah, he really did it. Oh, he really did it. Yeah, he really did it. He's a confessed shooter. Of course he did it. He confessed to it. And Rabbi Brandon says, I remember the look in Nancy Pelosi's eyes. Oh man, we're gonna talk about that. Talk about that right quick. Wait, on Rabbi Brandon, she remembers Nancy Pelosi's eyes the very first time she picked up the gavel. It was crazy. Am I right? See, it's like I know it might come off as sexist sometimes, but I know the ladies out there know exactly what I mean. I'm not saying all ladies, but there's a particular type of lady, dude. If you give her an ounce of power, dude, you'll see that sparkle in her eyes. She'll be like, "Ooh, I'm gonna be dominant over this. I'm gonna dominate over this. Like I'm gonna dominate, and I'm just gonna take advantage and stuff." Like you can see him bubbling up inside of her every time. All right. And so there's an unending list of different nameless, faceless ladies who they could put in power, and that's exactly how they're going to act. And some people would argue you need to get ladies up out of politics, and I'm not even going to go that far. I'm not going to say that, but there is that stereotypical lady, and she's used for that reason, all right? Seems like we got about 5 minutes left, y'all. We tried to get through a lot of stuff, dude. I feel like we've only covered like 3 things, but they're very imperative. And I know that everything we look at and everything y'all look at out there, it's just a window. What you're looking at is a microcosm that's very significant. And if you look at it well enough, I think you'll find it's very profound. The lessons that we're learning, it's not what we can learn through, say, the Bible. And so that's where the Bible, it's helpful. To me, it's the best history book that was ever created. But at the same time, it's what we're seeing. We're seeing the evidence that it's necessary to create some sort of process that we're being involved in. I'm not going to define exactly what's happening in this process, but it's definitely a tribulation of sorts in which there's a separation. Definitely there's extremes being made, and in that, like, the cultures, it's a culture war, it's a civil war, and it's not coming, it's here, it's been here, and we're looking at it. We're looking at all sort of aspects, and we don't even have time to look at all of them, so we're just looking at some of them. And meanwhile, those will pretty much represent the lessons that should be learned while looking at everything involved, to include, and especially before we get out of here, Roger Stone. Because, I find myself in a particular situation in which, I don't all the way trust Roger Stone. But even if I did, or if I didn't trust him at all, wouldn't matter at all. All right? He's being railroaded in front of everybody. And if that is the case, and that's what it looks like, for the president of the United States to not be able to pardon him, even though it's clear cut in everybody's face, that would be establishing lawlessness for everybody to see. It would become just as big as Epstein didn't kill himself, and of course he didn't kill himself. All right, you had to be all the way plumb bob retarded to think that he did that, and yet still some people did think, because the news told them that, and the news told them emphatically, "Oh, this is what happened. Don't you worry about it. Nothing to see here." All right, and it knocked a lot of people, off their rockers, if you will. It did wake up some people. It probably was one of those catalysts that woke up a lot of people. All right, and Roger Stone is going to be nothing short of that. At the same time, what did he do? All right, who is responsible for this? You know what I'm saying? And why is it all done behind the scenes and ain't no transparency? Oh, is that for due diligence? Is that for due process? Is that why y'all do that? All right, is that why y'all make it all secret, or we can't see what you're doing? We don't know why you're doing it. Even in such a publicly, shared event, everybody's looking at this. All right, and it would establish some sort of lawlessness. And you got to imagine that there's optics, all right? And in that sense, some people might think, oh, it will look very biased because they're good friends. Wouldn't it look so extremely corrupt if Donald Trump were to pardon his friend Roger Stone? The people who's got Donald Trump derangement syndrome are just going to jump to that. And regardless, you're not going to stop them from jumping to that conclusion. That is where they're going to go with it. And they are going to argue and whine about it and create posters over it and be like, oh, Russian collusion. Oh, Roger Stone, he's a criminal. Oh, Roger Stone sexually harassed me and stuff. It's going to go off the rails either way. My suggestion would be to alleviate the sense of lawlessness. It is a bunch of lawlessness going around in the nation, all right. But the whole idea is creating an illusion that there is some sort of law that governs us over this country. I mean, we know that the Constitution hasn't been upheld for a long time. Before we get out of here, we're gonna wind it down right now, but there's the illusion, there's the optics of it, of the Constitution, of actually the rule of law being upheld. And the optics of it are very important. You know what I'm saying? The symbolism. Symbolism is, I think, probably one of the most important. It's memes runs the whole world, y'all. All right, so before we get out of here, I'm going to read the comments real quick. And just take a quick second and thank everybody in there. I know 7 people up in the building. We're setting records around here. It's not the final broadcast, but I do want to come up with a better name. So shout me out in the comments, what should be the official name. What is wrong with Greta Thunberg's face? If you do know that, it took her so long to get up out of this country, and I understand she is finally up out of the country. And I love Greta Thunberg, but what is wrong with her face? And I do want to just take a moment out to, for whatever it's worth, I'm going to take a moment out to just say a word and have a prayer for Nikolas Cruz, all right? Because I do believe he's being, doped up and sacrificed in some sort of sacrificial ritual. I'm pretty sure that's what it looks like. And Roger Stone seems to be in a pretty similar boat. All right. And the two, for all those similarities, actually are both Donald Trump fans. A lot of people forget. Right? I thought that was very interesting about Nikolas Cruz. Mind you, I don't think he shot anybody that day. Right? I don't know what happened that day. But at the same time, I thought it was very significant that Nikolas Cruz was a Donald Trump fan. And he seemed to have some like Republican leanings or just some very reasonable leanings as a young child. And that was kind of refreshing. And that could have been all made up and a lie. I don't know. I don't know what's real and fake as far as Parkland, but I do know that people is lying and the truth shall come to the light. Now we're going to get up out of here and with a final word from one of our co-hosts, that'd be Jacob Longer. He says, the drugs they give you in jail, and I want y'all to remember this, take this home with you. This is going to be the final thought. The drugs they give you in jail won't make you forget 2 years. I've been in jail. Okay. And even they crazy people on drugs still have a sense of reality. All right. So with that being said, I would like to draw attention. I don't know that this might be Jacob Longer's theory. Is that, oh dang, I don't know why Google turned off. But I don't know if this might be because, say, Jacob Longer were to feel, I don't know why I did that, that the Nikolas Cruz is an actor. It's like, I don't know if we could be more specific, but I think the theory is that Nikolas Cruz is an actor. What kind of drugs would make him forget 2 years? Would be the main sentiment of the question. And that's definitely something to ponder on because I can't say another answer. I put up my theory in that, he's doped up and who's to say, and he's kind of reliving this event over and over every day. And that was my theory. Perhaps the theory could be that I don't know, he's an actor. Maybe he's an actor and his line was to say 19 even though he's 21 because he knows that a whole lot of people would get riled up about that. All right, and that's a little juicy morsel that he just laid out there. I'm not sure. It's all sort of theories, but like I said, people's lying. They need to be held to account, especially Scotty Israel. and we're gonna hear more about that. But also, I want to put David Hogg on blast. Maybe not in a criminal fashion, but he also should be put on blast for all sort of lies. And there's many others who've lied. All right, and it's provable. Unless he's in a padded room. Who's to say? The thing is, I think they might have him in solitary. Who's to say, Jacob Longer? And we need to get to the bottom of that. In fact, that'll probably be the main topic on this next broadcast. We're going to be back here on Monday. That's going to probably be the main. We need to get down to the bottom of the nitty gritty. So everybody out there brainstorm and be pondering about it. All right, but what are they doing to Nicholas Cruz? What could they possibly be doing to Nicholas Cruz in there? All right, a world of hurt, probably. Anyways, it's November the 15th, y'all, and I appreciate it. Appreciate all y'all out there. 2019, holler at me in the comments. All right, for y'all dear contributors out there, everybody out there, I appreciate y'all, and I'll holler at y'all.